content creator, Joey Garrity. I empower women entrepreneurs by sharing influence solutions on my show, SWE Spotlight with Joie. Hi, everyone. Welcome to SWE Spotlight with Joey. I'm Joey Garrity. I'm a content creator and the founder of SWE Media and Joey G113. And you can learn more about me, my products, and my services, my magazine, my shows, and more over on YouTube at SWE, at Superstar Women Entrepreneurs, or at Joey G113. You can also learn why I named my company Joey G113 over there. And I have endless blogs about my journey as well. About my ups and my downs, and about my background in the Hollywood entertainment business. So you know that you're in the right place if you're here to learn how to reframe your past expertise to leverage your current biz with Chief Executive Officer Leslie Hurst. She's fantastic. I've known her for a while. She's out of Canada. And so I'm going to bring her up from the green room. Hey, Leslie, how are you?
Hey, Joey. I'm wonderful. Thanks. How are you?
Good, good, good. I have a little bit about your bio right here, so people can check that out as well. I want to roll right into your first SWE Superstar Influence Share. It's about creating Age-Wise as my own legacy brand to combine all of my expertise in service and seniors, gives me the opportunity to serve more families and create a business and life I love. Let's talk about how you pulled from your background and then you're pulling into what you're doing today, and then how you fused the two.
Sure. Sounds good. So I've been a visiting nurse for 26 years, all across Ontario, and 15 years ago decided to get my real estate license for a few reasons, but one was to be able to serve seniors and those people who are faced with a move later in life that they may or may not want. And so Age-Wise was really developed to create a more holistic approach around evaluating people as well as the property to make sure it never becomes a burden. And I'm able to bring all the experience from my years where I would greet people home from hospital, fairly sure they shouldn't be home yet, and empowering them to get either to the next chapter or to end of life, and empower them to get on with living if they're going to get well. Make sure that their home is something they can maximize enjoyment of and really get on with life and living in relationships and the things that are most important.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's like such a spotlight moment, because what I love is that I find that a lot of times people are leaving their past behind. They're not talking about what they used to do. They're leaving it behind because they're in a quote unquote new arena. And I think that's a mistake. I do. Right. Because you don't want the marketplace to just think that you fell from the sky and you've never done anything. Right. But what I really appreciate about what you're doing is that you're bringing your nurse background, which is nurturing, right? You really understand the systems, right? And then you fused it into your real estate arena, and how you're helping a particular community, which was the seniors, which I think is fantastic.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, our homes are aging too, right? And our homes have systems as well that we need to keep functional and
So
operational
true.
to, so that everything is, you know, stress-free as much
It's
as
so
possible.
true. Our homes are aging. I live in a home that was built 70 years ago in the Bay Area. That's young, actually. And what's interesting is that whenever we like my husband and I do something to this home, we notice the whole neighborhood's doing the same thing, right? Right? Because homes age.
Mhm.
Right? And so that's like a really interesting concept around like how you connected the dots where you're like, well, home's age and I want to work with this niche, right? What's something that's really surprised you along the journey in all this?
Well, when I first started, I was expecting more response from that sandwich generation caregiver who's sort of worried about mom or dad, but isn't quite sure either how to start the conversation or what the heck to do. Or I can't
Right.
tell you how many times I've heard my dad's too stubborn. We all have those stories. But I'm actually surprised how often it's the senior calling me and saying, they don't want to bother their adult children with these conversations and these discussions and decisions. And they're not sure who to include and who not to. They just know they need some help. So that was a bit of a surprise. I was expecting it to be more so like the overwhelmed caregivers calling, but in actuality, it's been responsible seniors saying, you know what, there's more to life than sitting around worrying. I want to be able to get on with enjoying my life. And those are my people. I love helping those people.
Well, tell me something when they find out that you are a nurse, right? That must help, right? I mean, that's the up level around you pulling your past into the present.
Right, absolutely. And I think, again, I'm always watching for lessons, again, whether that's in real estate or with people, but most people spend their entire life in a body they don't understand. So when they meet a nurse, they know we know certain things that they don't have a great understanding of. It's like we carry our kidneys around just as part of our package until our kidneys don't work. We don't even know what they do for us. So
Right.
I really enjoy being able to guide people through saying, like, you're still above ground. Today is a great day. Aging is good news. We want to help people level up their well-being, and
Right.
part of that is alleviating those fears about the future, that once there's a plan in place, everybody can breathe a little easier, knowing that not only are with age-wise are we involved, but we're continuing to oversee the property to make sure that as the situation changes, because it will,
Yes.
that we are going to help people pivot and also oversee the service arrangements along the way to make sure that everybody's doing an excellent job for our clients and that they're billing fairly and that nobody's being taken advantage of, which is another big, huge fear with seniors, of course, that
Yes.
every person who's speaking to them is trying to get something from them or scam them in some way.
Yeah, not just seniors, but also the family, right? The family
Yeah.
members. You all know you're in the right place if you're here to learn how to reframe your past expertise to leverage your current business with Chief Executive Officer Leslie Hurst. I think that this topic is really an important one. I want to share my share here, and it is about how I feel really strongly about bringing it's like make sure not to leave your past experience behind when you jump into another arena. By spotlighting your past, you're supporting your current business in a big way. When I first left Hollywood, I was so burnt out, right? That I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I didn't really think anyone would care about it, probably because at that point I was burnt out. I didn't really want to talk about it. And yet my first mentor slash speaker coach, she was like, "You have to talk about it. Like, you cannot leave 20 plus years behind and think that, like, well, how is that going to help?" And I'll tell you that was such an amazing learning curve for me because that's what pivoted things for me where I was able to launch my own business. Where people were like, "Well, if you can work there, you can do this." Right. I'm like, yeah, it's one of the toughest businesses in the world. If you can be a nurse, right? And
Yep.
you're that nurturing and you're that like because you have to have patience. You have to. We had an in-house nurse for my dad. And so I learned a lot about the system. And so you guys have a lot of patience.
Mhm. And a lot of patience. Like, one of the things I loved about home care was the ability to give all my care and attention to one family so that I could really be present with them and really hold that space for when they're not making great decisions because they're stressed or sick or worried or all the things, right? And it's so true what you say, Joey, about bringing your past with us. In part, like, central to how I created the age-wise approach is that our story matters.
Yeah.
Every chapter preceding this one brought us to today, and you can't
Yeah.
change looking backwards. Like they say, the rearview mirror is small and the windshield is big.
It
But we
is.
can't forget about it either, especially bringing that wisdom forth. And I feel so grateful to have had so many experiences with people who may not have even shared those nuggets with their family, but I got to hear them. And so they're all kind of registered away in the archives. And I love sharing stories about clients and the wisdom that they've shared from stories they've shared with me from their past, not bringing.
Yeah, I share my background in my second book. I share a lot about it, and in my first book too. I talk about what I learned in Hollywood and how it helped shape me and how it helped for me to stretch and grow, and also to when I stepped out of it, what self-development work that I needed to dive into, right? That was highlighted for me there,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what I think your past does for you, right? It like highlights what you need to work on too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, all these years in visiting nursing, and sometimes I feel like as much as I love the work and I loved being with the people, in
Yeah.
some ways it was like a convenient place to kind of hide away too,
Oh,
where I
yeah.
feel like we've got a big message and it's going to take a village. So the way I look at it, I want seniors to win and I want anyone who serves seniors to win. And we know that to properly take care of a senior, you need to support their caregivers and create sustainable arrangements for people so that they can still find joy in their life when they're also experiencing a late chapter with a loved one, because that can be really emotional and a difficult time for people. People are stretched from a human and financial resources perspective. But when
Yeah.
we can frame it in a mindset that says the best is yet to come, the rest is still unwritten, how can we bring as much possible joy and ease along the way without worrying about the current rules and the current system that we are all supposed to follow. We have to take care of our own communities and our own people. And I think when we do that well, it's a gift to the next generation too, to model that for them as well.
I think I agree. I want to share your tip here. Owning and valuing your own expertise is essential, and being willing to put your hand up for help and seek support in the areas of the business outside of your zone genius allows you to focus on things only you can. So true. So true. Because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's what I think coaching and doing daily practices and really stretching our inner game. I think it's the biggest game in town is the inner game first. I really do. So let's encourage everyone out there. If you don't know, right, go get the expertise to know. That's what it's a game changer, I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely. And I think when we can, find the things that bring us joy and trust that there's information there, that if something doesn't feel great, it's because we're not meant to be doing it. And I think just even energetically tapping into that, be where you want to be present where your feet are, and create a life where you have that choice, where you can, to be an expert in something, you just have to be the smartest person in an average room. But also being an expert in something you don't love doesn't feel as joyful as pouring into something that you do love. So for me,
Yeah.
that made this make a lot of sense. I joke about
Yeah.
being the trench coat lady in the past, where I did a little of this and a little of that. But Age Wise Group really allows me to bring all of my expertise to the table in such a powerful way that I know each family that I can serve will be impacted in a way that allows them to enjoy whatever's left of their lives and their family experiences,
Yeah,
especially
I
when they're
remember
home
when
where
we talked
possible.
recently that you talked about how this was your aha. Like, you were like, "Oh," so, like, all like, you were like, everything came together,
Yeah.
right? Because, again, you didn't leave your past behind. Your past is supporting what you're doing today in the arena in a big way, right?
Yes.
And it helps mold the bigger purpose why for you. And I think those ahas are priceless, priceless.
Absolutely. And I think, when we own our own power, but we also want to elevate other people and create arrangements where multiple people are winning,
Yeah.
um, that's really magical.
Yeah, it really well, I always tell people all the time, I said, "I'm telling you, you will not build an empire being a lone wolf. It's impossible. You don't have to like everyone all the time, right? That's what they teach you in Hollywood. They're like, you don't have to go to Thanksgiving with each other. You don't have to go to Christmas with each other, the holidays with each other, but you have to help each other. And if you do not, they will push you out, right? There's a networking system down there. That is how it's $1 billion business, right?
Mhm.
And so really like supporting each other is key. I want to share my tip here. Make it a point to share with the marketplace with social shares, blogs, or articles about your past experience and how it continues to support your business today. Like, really sit down with that. I'm going to encourage everyone out there. I know some people are going to be like, well, how am I going to do that? Because I was, let's just say they were a retail manager for a retail store. Let's just say that, right? And I was like, and now let's say now they're a fitness coach. Let's say that's what it is, right? I'm like I'm like, well, you were able to manage an entire floor of people, right? You're amazing with customer service, right? You understand how to put together systems, and anyone coming to you for the fitness component is going to need you to be amazing customer service with them.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Right? And to have systems to get them into shape, to get them where they need to go, right? And so there's always a dot. There's always a dot. No matter how far you think the arena is from each other, they're not that far. They're not.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting? It's so much easier to connect the dots looking backwards. But I
Yeah.
really do think that when you talk about the inner game, if we're not pouring into our own well-being, what are we even doing? Like that has
Yes.
to be our priority. And I think especially as women, we get caught in that sandwich generation. We take on a lot of roles. And I always ask my clients, of all the hats you're wearing, which ones would you take off if you could? Right?
Right.
Start there, because we have a lot of jobs we didn't necessarily sign up for. And as long as we're taking care of ourselves, all of what we're doing feels better, feels easier. There's more flow. It's when
Yes.
we're starting to feel resentful, which can often happen in caregiving, where it's like you have your own life to lead, you have your own financial goals, you have your own things you need to be working on. So, noticing that energy and making a shift and putting your hand up for help before you need it. So getting guidance instead of trying to just figure it all out yourself is a big one for women.
Well, I love that. I want to end the show on that. Thank you so much, Leslie, for joining me today. Thank you for what you're doing. I love you. I love you. I love you, sister.
Thank you for
I'm
having
going
me.
to drop you down into the green room. Go grab yourself a mocktail. Yeah, no, she's fantastic. Make sure you join me for another episode of Superstar Women Entrepreneur Spotlight with Joie every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Coast Time. And I always end it like this: it is literally your birthright to stand in your spotlight and share your gifts and talents with the world. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I appreciate you. You can learn more about me, my services, and products at joeyg113.com. Make sure to join me every week on the SWE Media Network YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts.